Howdy, everyone. This is Sharon for another Conscious Sharon moment. And so, remember, these Conscious Sharon moments are um, life hacks, their insights, their revelations, their aha moments, their observations, their personal, their professional. They're all me. And so, I love sharing these Conscious Sharon moments because these are things that I have should I say, either transformed my life or really made a difference in my life. And then also that have made a difference in other people's lives when either through counseling, being a therapist, or even in conversation with my family and friends and beyond. And so I really love. This is like the highlight of my day when I do these conscious sharing moments. And anytime I don't, y'all, I miss it. I miss sharing this information with the community. And so make sure you like and share. Make sure you turn on the notifications so that you would know when these conscious sharing moments are on because they are spontaneous. They are, and I want them like that because that is what life is. It helps us to be able to adapt, to be able to adjust to things in life. Because sometimes when we're kind of get stuck in, it's a good thing and then it's not. I'll put it like that. When it comes to looking forward to something, because the thing is, what happens if that thing, whether it's people, places, and thing, doesn't happen? And then even I myself, like have some level of disappointment, and then sometimes everyone's like, oh, really frustration and irritation as well. And I've seen what it can do to people, and just know that as humans, as a person, we are, it is ingrained in us to be adaptable. But some kind of way along in life, it's almost like we don't like change. And so these conscious sharing moments allow you to do that because even though I may come on around about the same time each day, not always. And I want it like that. It could be 9 o'clock at night. It may not be 8 o'clock. Well, it may not. Well, it may be 8 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? Depends on how I feel. But anyway, I wanted to really share that of just how valuable the time that I spend with you. And I've heard so many great things about these conscious sharing moments. And I just want to continue to feed you as I am fed as well. And so let's move on. So with this conscious sharing moment, the topic is what I want to talk about is community. And so there's so many different ways that you can think about that. I wrote in community support at some place. And so there's a couple ways of doing that. And you've heard me say this, there's a couple ways because I want your mind to be open. Do not be stuck in looking at something just in one way, in one perspective, in one viewpoint, because when you are, you get left behind, you get stuck in life, you get stagnated. So when it comes to community, there's community support. They say, oh, go to the community, they'll support you. I'm not saying that's not true, but with anything, nothing has the capacity to serve everyone. But one thing I will say, being in community is something that is very beneficial. And what I have come to realize is, I would say when I started in this self-care journey, and as I was learning, I was binging, I was exploring, one of the things that I did, and I didn't always do it, it wasn't always in my practice, was to like go to retreats, to go to even training, to go to share, to be a part of share circles. I remember the first time I went to a share circle, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love it. And so, in saying that, what I'm saying is that when you are in community, when you go to a group, I mean, it could be, a men's group, a women's group, it can be whatever it is. Let's say if you're experiencing whatever it is that you're experiencing, find, as they say, your tribe, find your community. Even if you are experiencing something and you do a search and it's like, okay, let me find this type of group or this type of community, be a part of it. Even you're like, oh, I don't want nobody to be in my business. I don't feel comfortable sharing. And it's okay. There is something that happens to you and even to others when you are in community. When it comes to this healing is a journey. Like it's peeling layers. And one thing I will say, and you've heard me say before, is like when it comes to others, we need others to activate us. Most people call them triggers to help us, because sometimes there's parts of ourselves that we don't even know that exist. And our being does a good job of hiding ourselves from ourselves that we don't even know it. One thing I will say, when you're in community, when you're hearing someone else's story, when you're hearing an experience, sometimes there's something about that resonates with you. Sometimes it can be your own story in somebody else's mouth. And so, in saying that, it really helps you heal. And I've come to this realization because I realized somewhere along the way, I had stopped being in community. I had been out, I guess you could say, in the community somewhat, but being in community, being a part of it, which I did go to a retreat back last summer. But that was the first one I went to, I would say, in a couple of years, even though we know that the pandemic had put a halt on face to face things, but not on virtual. And so let me say this too, in that when it comes to coping mechanism, we all, and I've talked about this one time before, we all have a go-to. That's not even the word I'm looking for. A natural, still not the word I'm looking for. A default, that's what it is. We all have a default coping mechanism that we go to even on an unconscious level. And so in saying that, sometimes when stress comes, when you're stressful, when you're going through something, when you're experiencing something, when you hear the little saying, I fell off the wagon. And that isn't just about someone who has an addiction with substances. We all have an addiction with something. I said most of us do have an addiction with something. So it could be that we fall back on eating, fall back on isolating, fall back on, it could be how you soothe yourself. Some things are healthy and some things are not. So in saying that, like for myself, like I'm an introvert anyway. I love to be in company of others, especially one-on-one in small groups. But I also love, my alone time, doing things, on my own. I really love that. And that is fantastic, but sometimes it's not. But one thing that I did, I would say, in saying this, is that you fall back on, just, I guess you say, being you. Most of the time, that's okay. But there's something about being in community, being around people, even if you don't say a word and they don't say a word to you, there is something magical about that. And so, monitor yourself, reevaluate yourself. Sometimes when you're going through something, it's really hard. It really, really is, but it's possible. Listen to what other people may be saying about you, to you, and for you, because sometimes their observation of you, sometimes, it can be their perception, but then sometimes there can be some truth about you that you just may not see yourself. And so, in saying that, meaning those are the times that you can have some reflection and do some self inquiry and kind of contemplate things for yourself. And along with that, I guess you could say that's a part of being in community. And more so, when I say being in community, is being in some type of group setting, whether it's a club, whatever it may be. Doesn't always mean you need to divulge or what's going on with you, because a lot of times I'm like, you're trying to figure it out yourself. You're, you know, navigating to it. Sometimes you may not even know it. However, believe me, when you're in community, there is a profound healing that takes place. And I remember experiencing that. I remember when I first went to a yoga retreat, especially the bigger one. Like, oh my gosh, there was two things I got from that. And that is the fact that being in community is really beneficial, and also being in community with your culture is also very beneficial too. So when it comes to healing, yes, it's an individual thing, but in order to heal, also being in community is very beneficial too. So find your tribe, find your club, find your group. Find something. If you can't find it, create your own. And sometimes it can be where you may not even say a word, but just sit there. There's something, believe me, there's something magical. And so this day forward, allow this to be a challenge for you, because I'm not going to even say challenging myself. I'm challenging you because I'm going to do it. That's why I say I'm not going to challenge myself. I'm just going to start back up where I was, whether, it can be going to meditation, to in a group setting, going to yoga, find a kickboxing, class that you can go to, but especially the ones, those are, I would say, especially the ones where you can sit and listen to someone talk. Those are the ones to really be a part of. All of them are very beneficial. And even though the embodiment practices is very important and it's a must do, but also being in a community, listening to others, because we heal through others. We always talk about vicarious trauma. What about the vicarious treasures, the vicarious gifts, the vicarious healing? Let's focus on that piece of it, because that's where it's at. So find your community, be the community, work through the community. Again, it doesn't have to be like an agency or anything like that, because they get overwhelmed as well, So there are so many different communities out there. Find yours and challenge yourself. It's like, oh no, I'm not a social person. Yes, you are. It just takes practice. And so, again, be in community so that you can continue to heal, because it is something that will benefit you. But you never know how you can benefit others just by being there, just with your presence. Even if you don't say a word, make sure you lift your head up, your shoulders back, you're flat on your feet if when you're standing up, and just smile. Especially, definitely when you're by yourself, but especially when you're out in public. And so being in community is healing. Being in community helps you and it helps others. So thank you for listening to this conscious sharing moment. Remember to check out my remember to check out my YouTube channel, but also check out my products as well. And so this is one of them. And go to Shopify, South Korea U, YOU, to see all the different merchandises that is there and the upcoming ones as well. And also remember to And also, I want to let you know that I created a relaxation ebook. And so you can go to my website, or you can go to Breathe, Rest, Recover, SharonDBrown.now.site/. Go there so you can get your free ebook, because the more that you care for yourself, the better you are and the better the community is. What all of us are doing what we need to do to be well. And hi there, I was about to say Facebook world, but Instagram world. And thank you for joining us from Gambia in West Africa. I really appreciate you joining us. I'll see you next time on this Conscious Sharing Moment.